Good Tuesday morning to you. I say good. Hopefully it's good. It's been long chronicled on this radio station that Tuesday quite often turns out to be the worst day of the commute of the week, but hopefully that's not the case. It wasn't too bad this morning. A little busy, a little different, but hopefully it's going well for you, whether it's a commute or working from home, or even if the word commute is a stretch because you're close by. Good on you, by the way. However your day began. Hope it's going well now. Welcome to Light the Tower here on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. Live, local, and digital on the Horn app and hornfm.com. My name is Craig White. Glad to have you with us. Jeff Howe will be along shortly. Our man behind the glass, Cameron Parker. What did you do last night? First of all, you doing okay this morning there?
I'm doing great, Craig.
How'd you spend your Monday night? And I'll tell you how I spent mine, but go ahead.
See, Monday night, was it last night?
Yep.
I think I finished up the quarterback Netflix series.
How have you liked it? I haven't had a chance to dive into that. I hear really good things about it.
Yeah. It made me like Pat Mahomes a lot more.
Really?
Made me love Kirk Cousins.
That's what I'm hearing. Everybody
still can't stand Pat Mahomes' wife.
Yeah.
She might be the spawn of Satan.
Really? That much, huh?
But besides that, the Marcus Mariota part's really weird, but besides him, the way they covered Kirk Cousins and Pat Mahomes, it's hard to dislike him now.
Did you find yourself having empathy for Marcus Mariota?
I mean, a little bit, but at the same time, the way he left the team, and it was just kind of
checked out on him.
Yeah, just not really. Yeah. I mean, he's a millionaire. He's going to be backing up Jalen Hurts. He's got a pretty good life.
Okay.
Yeah, he had his time in Tennessee.
Yep.
Great college quarterback. You can't take that away from him. NFL quarterback, but
yeah. Okay. All right.
Have you been able to watch it yet?
I haven't.
Okay.
And that's why. But hearing from everybody else, and I have Netflix, so I'll definitely be viewing. I'll
got some time the next month and a half.
Yeah, I do. The things that I know that I have on my plate this week. Thursday night, Lynn and I are going to the Paramount to see Boss Skaggs.
Oh, nice.
So on Thursday, by the way, I'm just letting people know all of our return cuts on Thursday are going to be Boss Skaggs.
Okay.
Including an Inconceivable. So I'm already designing it in my mind, okay? So that's going to be there. So anyway, they Boss Skaggs at the Paramount. And then Friday, we're going up to Arlington. I have to see the Dodgers. They're in town, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's as close as they're going to get to the area. They're playing the Rangers over the weekend. So we're going to go up and see the Friday game anyway.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah. So there's that. So that's a couple of things on the agenda, but I've got other things still to come. And there's a lot, still happening. So we'll see how all that goes. Among the things that we'll get to, we'll talk obviously plenty of college football. Coaching school wraps up today in the greater Houston area. They have in downtown Houston at the George R. Brown Convention Center. They'll elect a new president today. And I've been asked about this before. They said, well, this is how much power, whatever, influence, whatever, this is the president of the Texas High School Coaches Association. It's more about being a conduit to the active coaches, because the guys who run the Texas High School Coaches Association are the executive director, Joe Martin, and the assistant executive director, and that's Glenn West. Those are the guys who are there. But, of course, the membership body of whatever, 13,000 plus or whatever, they set the policies for the things they want, the agendas, for the things that they want to get accomplished. And then the president is a rotating annual thing. It's really a 3-year commitment, but you're really and truly only the president for 1 year. You're elected, and you're called the president-elect. Kendall Miller from up in the Frisco area is getting ready to assume office as the first elected African-American president. So that's, and he, I've talked to him and interviewed him about the responsibility that goes with that and representing all of those coaches. He was elected last year, so he will step into the office. when you are first in the three guys who are on the ballot this year, whoever gets elected will be the quote-unquote president-elect and is kind of in an administrative role and helps out. Then you serve your 1 year as the president, and then you're called a past president for 1 year where you're kind of in an advisory role. So it's really kind of a 3-year commitment. But they'll elect a new one today, and that's the biggest thing on their agenda today for the coaches and coaches school. And they'll start to wrap up all of the exhibits and things like that. That usually goes to about noon, and then everybody kind of closes shop on that. But it was extremely busy when I was there a couple of days ago on the first full day. Of course, Saturday is when the Hall of Honor banquet happened, and things were just starting to get into gear. But most everybody arrived either like Saturday night or Sunday morning, and then your first full big day was Sunday. And then yesterday, another big day. Yesterday, by the way, in addition to some coaches, and there were more coaches who talked yesterday. Now, all of the Division I coaches in the state of Texas who were on that FBS coaching panel that I got a chance to moderate spoke on Sunday, except Jeff Traylor of UTSA. He spoke yesterday. He had a news conference yesterday. Now, he was on the panel with us on Sunday. Like I said, he was kind of the most entertaining of the whole group. But he had a news conference yesterday. And then also yesterday, Matt Rule, the new head coach in the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who, of course, elevated Baylor out of the problems that they had, and then left for the NFL and was with the Carolina Panthers, and was probably the most recent example of a guy who did an outstanding job at the collegiate level who just it didn't work for him at the NFL level. And there are many, many coaches who have fallen into that category. Most notably, Lou Holtz, who left NC State, remember, did a great job there. Had 1 year with the New York Jets, and then went to Arkansas, and from there to Notre Dame. And and then, of course, obviously, most notably recently, was Nick Saban after winning a national title at LSU and then going to the Dolphins. And it didn't work there with him in Miami, and then goes to Alabama, and, of course, establishes so much history as the head coach at Alabama. But that was an example, the most recent high-profile example of a coach who had a lot of success at the collegiate level, tried it at the NFL, and it just didn't happen. And it didn't work for whatever reason. And the same thing you can say for Matt Rule. Did a great job at Baylor. Parlayed that into becoming the coach, and really before Baylor did a really good job at Temple, and then did a great job at Baylor, and then parlayed that into the head coaching job of the Carolina Panthers. It didn't work for him there. He's gone to Nebraska, has several staff members with ties to Texas high school football on his staff. His director of operations is none other than Dr. Susan Elza, who was the athletic director of the UIL until that appointment a few months ago. So she's with him there, and as a result of that, she is his operations director. And I visited with her. She was at the Hall of Honor banquet, and she said, yeah, there's a lot. She misses that, but they're very excited about what they could have to do. But anyway, Matt Rule had a news conference yesterday there at coaching school. So he talked about it as well. My co-host, of course, is the pride of Northwest Williamson County. He is a proud graduate of Florence High School, even though he disdains wearing the color purple on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's not really a good look for anybody.
It is for some people, but for those of us who carry a little more carriage,
yeah,
probably not so much. You know him best for his outstanding work at Horns 24/7. That's Jeff Howe.
I missed Matt Rule yesterday.
You missed Matt Rule yesterday.
Damn it.
He was
Love
there.
me some Matt Rule.
He was there, and Jeff Traylor did his news conference yesterday. He didn't do it Sunday.
Oh, yeah, he was on the schedule Sunday.
Yeah.
He probably just wanted to hold court Monday.
Yeah, and he did, because He invariably does that.
Yeah.
He invariably does that.
You know what? What's interesting? We heard your interview with GJ Kinney yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as anything I tweet Texas related or put out on social media Texas related gets a good reaction.
Sure.
I really felt like, and I told you this, I really felt like my biggest takeaway from being at coaching school Sunday was, man, and I got feedback from some of my Bobcat friends when I tweeted out. I said it really feels like for the first time in a long time, they've got a chance to get it going in the right direction down there. And I really feel that. And a lot of my Texas State people texted me or reached out to me yesterday, and they said, you know what? You're not lying. Like, it really – and I think a lot of that – I know people are probably tired of me saying it, but I think a lot of it goes back to you've got a head coach and an administration, namely your athletic director and your president, that are all on the same page, going in the same direction. That's so huge. On top of the fact that – you know, GJ's bright. We saw what he did at UIW. The track record is there. The high school coaches love him. His dad was a high school coach. So there's he checks a lot of boxes that you'd like for somebody to be the head coach there, but it feels different this time.
Yeah.
It feels different than it did with Everett Withers or with Spav. It feels different with GJ Kinney.
Somebody on the Specs text line, thank you for the reminder.
Herbs.
Yeah. When I was talking about the coach, I said the most recent high-profile. I erred because there's an even more recent and high-profile example. Urban Meyer trying it with Jacksonville. It happened so quickly with him.
Who are you talking about? I heard you say
coaches who achieved success at the collegiate level, tried it at the NFL level, and it didn't work for whatever reason. I said,
Lou Holtz.
I started with Lou Holtz.
Bud Wilkinson.
Bud Wilkinson, yeah. Now, Bud Wilkinson's deal was different because, remember, when he quit after, 1963, he was out of it for a while, went into broadcasting for a while, then came back, and the Cardinals gave him an opportunity, and it didn't work. He was already in his 70s, I think, when he tried it. And but that is another example. I mean, there was a time lapse in between. But then he came back and tried it. You're right, with the Cardinals.
Have you mentioned the offensive coordinator who may or may not be calling the plays at Texas A&M? Bobby Petrino.
No, I hadn't because I was talking about head coaches, but that's another example of a guy who had success at the collegiate level.
You know, I don't know if times have changed, but we talk about, you know, Matt Rule's one of the out-of-state coaches from his time at Baylor that, like, the Texas high school coaches love.
Yeah.
If you want to make a list of coaches that the Texas high school coaes are not fond of? Bobby Petrino might be at the top of that list.
Wow.
Just from what I've heard from over the years. I've straight up, Craig, had coaches tell me Bobby Petrino is not welcomed on my campus.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
I think a lot of that goes back to when he was at Arkansas and started pulling some offers and rearranging some things, and I don't think he was upfront about it. So yeah.
Okay.
It's a little unsavory.
Okay.
Like I said, maybe times have changed, but when he was at Arkansas, there were some places in the state where he was not welcome.
Okay, all right. So we were talking about different ones who were successful at the collegiate level. I mentioned Nick Saban, obviously trying with the Dolphins, and it didn't work there. And then, like you said, we mentioned Lou Holtz, and then I said the most recent high-profile example. I said might have been Nick Saban, but I was forgetting about Urban Meyer. So, yeah. So
I'm sure there's a couple other I'm forgetting.
He's tied with Lou Holtz and Petrino for the fourth shortest NFL head coaching tenure. 13 games.
13 games. There it is. Jim from Lago Vista said, like the Jim Wacker. Jim Wacker didn't – did I miss something?
No, I think he was talking about Texas State football getting on track.
Okay. Okay, I got you. Okay, I'm following you, Jim, and now I see what you're saying.
I'd settle for the David Bailiff year at this point.
And we both saw David Bailiff the other day.
Coach Bailiff, he looks good. Looks like he's very happy to be in his role at Texas State.
I told him, I said, you look good in that maroon again, that Bobcat maroon. He said he was very, very happy. I mean, he was at Texas A&M Commerce, and then things, of course, he transitioned back to being on GJ Kinney's staff, which by the way, I think is a good move for GJ. In that, and bringing him back into the fold, I think that's important.
Oh, two others we forgot:
Steve Spurrier,
Greg Schiano, not great.
Yeah, but see, and then somebody said Cliff Kingsbury. But Cliff Kingsbury, my example was of coaches who had a large measure of success at the collegiate level.
Cliff got fired.
Cliff never won a conference title, and that's why I was. I thought about Cliff earlier, but
Greg Schiano won at Rutgers.
Yeah, he did.
That qualifies
He did.
you. You know.
Now Pete Carroll is an example the other way around. Even though he struggled with the Patriots, then of course had unparalleled success at USC. Then turned around and has done a heck of a job and won a Super Bowl and been to a couple of Super Bowls as the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah,
so he's definitely an outlier out of that example.
This is right around the time Matt Rule got fired last year. This is from the Sporting News. They combined this. The 5 winningest coaches who were college head coaches prior. They were college head coaches, and then they got NFL jobs.
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin, who was at Boston College.
Yep.
Pete Carroll, Jimmy Johnson, John Robinson, Craig from your Rams, and then Bobby Ross, who we forget was a college coach.
Yeah.
Won a national title at Georgia Tech.
That's exactly right. Now, John Robinson had some success with the Rams. They were a playoff
75 wins.
Yeah.
Four playoff wins.
We know what Jimmy Johnson did, obviously.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, says the
Good
long-suffering
Lord,
Cowboy fan. For the fan who just texted in Matt Rule, you might have missed it right at the start. We're using all of this as an example, talking about Matt Rule because he spoke at coaching school yesterday. And had the success with Baylor and then struggled with the Panthers. So Matt Rule was who we were talking about when we started bringing up those other examples.
And I forget, Dennis Green's one that goes the other way. He was at Stanford and then had some really good success with the Vikings.
Yeah, but somebody said Steve Spurrier, and that's a good example. Because Spurrier had all that success, national championship at Florida.
There's a couple others you forget about. Yeah. Rod Babers, former head coach in Detroit, Steve Mariucci. But Steve Mariucci's college, I don't think he didn't have sustained college success. He had like one good year at Cal, but he was more of like an NFL guy that went to college for a brief time and then jumped back into the NFL. So I don't know if you can really count Mariucci. You can definitely count Butch Davis, though.
Yep. Butch Davis, absolutely. You can. So you mean he had unparalleled purchases at USC? I see where you're going with
Dennis
that.
Erickson's another one, national championship coach of Miami with 2 national titles.
Yeah, he did.
Didn't have Rich Brooks. I forgot he coached for your Rams.
Yeah,
correct?
those were some dark days.
Mike Riley, not a memorable tenure with the Chargers.
No, that didn't work.
Dick McPherson's another one. Syracuse to the Patriots.
Forgot all about Dick McPherson doing that. You know, I was watching the Angels-Yankees game last night, and I saw Shohei Ohtani with the bat flip, and that they crushed the ball and knocked it out. And they had a shot. I was watching the Angels telecast of this. During the game, in that inning, when Shohei hit the home run, among the fans who were very excited. Well, first of all, I showed Gwen Stefani in a suite.
The game was in L.A. or New York?
Yes, in Anaheim. Please, for us Dodger fans. The Angels don't play in Los Angeles. They're in Orange County.
It's the L.A. metro area.
They're in Orange freaking County, okay? They're not in Los Angeles. So,
my apologies.
Yeah. Okay, so
this coming from somebody who gets aggravated when people say welcome to Dallas during a Cowboys game. I'm like, they're in freaking Arlington.
Yeah, see? There you go.
So my apologies. Proceed.
Yeah. So they had these shots. First of all, Gwen Stefani in an Angels jersey. She grew up in Anaheim. So she was I think she was born in Fullerton. That's Orange County, and then grew up in Anaheim.
I believe it's the CD jacket, the album cover for No Doubt's first album. I think there's on the background there's a sign that says "Welcome to Orange County." Okay, well, I have to look that up.
Yeah, and she's a huge Angels fan. And she had her kid with her, and they were all going crazy in the suite. And she had, I think, a FaceTime up. If you look closely on that replay, I think it's Blake Shelton on the FaceTime. He wasn't there, but I think he's on. I think she had FaceTimed him or whatever to say, hey, we're at the game, and boom, and Shohei hits the home run. So there was that. But the other thing I was going to tell you is the other crowd shot they showed during that inning was seated in the stands, I think on the first base side, Brandon Staley, the head coach of the Chargers, and none other than his offensive coordinator. You remember that guy, don't you? The former Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, Kellen Moore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kellen
Sorry,
Moore.
I was wrong about the Tragic Kingdom album cover. I could have sworn there was an
she
Orange
wasn't on
County
it?
sign on there, but no. It's Gwen Stefani eating an orange.
Okay. All right.
Orange
Well,
in
that's the
hand.
Orange County thing, I guess.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But so Brandon Staley was and Kellen Moore, but they weren't sitting, as the Canadians would say, side by each. They weren't like side by side. They were like, I think Kellen was down one row over a couple of seats or something like that. But they were both at the game last night.
Brandon Staley, he's a, I don't want to say a safe bet, but if you're wanting to get in on some FIPO lines for first NFL head coach fired, not a bad choice. Cam, you're shaking your head. Yes, I'm not wrong about that, am I?
He blew a 27-point lead in the playoffs last year.
Like Brandon Staley coaches real football like me when I'm playing Madden. Like, yeah, 4th and 24? Go for it. What the hell?
Well,
Let's try for this nonsensical touchdown. Oh, it's a turnover. Oh.
you know, if it works, Joey McGuire, then you're lauded for it. You know?
There's a difference between, and a fine line between being aggressive and being reckless. And Brandon Staley, to quote the late Charlie Murphy, he is a habitual line stepper going over that line.
Okay. I heard Aaron mention this the other day. Last year, and I know you always have access to all these numbers as well, and you pull these up, that last year Joey McGuire went for it on 4th down 52 times and was successful like 30-something, 63% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what was that? Sex Panther, 60% of the time it works
all the time.
It works all the time. The cologne. So, yeah. Howard Schnellenberger, some of the Miami Hurricanes, Washington.
The late great Howard Schnellenberger.
Went 5-5-1 at OU. The last time the Texas Longhorns were in a tie football game, 1995.
Anybody written a book on Howard Schnellenberger's 1 year at OU?
No.
Got to be some scribe north of the Red River.
He's the first person I ever heard use the term Sooner Nation.
Yeah.
1990, Sooner Nation.
That was his deal.
Yeah. And they went 5-5-1, and Texas had a 21-0 lead early second quarter. Bucky can tell you all about it. It ended up a 24-24 tie.
Well, if you look at a game between two head coaches that their fan bases by the end of their tenures were not very fond of them, a Howard Schnellenberger John Malkovich matchup is up there, and in hindsight, a Tom Herman Lincoln Riley matchup is probably up there as well.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley for completely different.
Yeah, for completely different reasons. Man, they hate that guy.
I think you're right. I think there's more vitriol from Sooner fans for Lincoln Riley. Believe it or not, don't drive off the road if you're driving and listening to us. I think there's more vitriol for Sooner fans for Lincoln Riley than there is for Longhorn fans for Tom Herman.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Because at least Texas fans still refer to Tom Herman by his actual name. OU fans will not refer to Lincoln. Some will not refer to Lincoln Riley by his name.
Yeah,
they've just taken to calling him TBOW.
I don't hate Tom Herman. Oklahoma fans hate Lincoln
Riley.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Lincoln Riley. I would not advise him to set foot in the state of Oklahoma for a long time. A long time.
Yeah. I think he'd probably take you up on that. Yeah. Former Muleshoe Mule.
What will happen first? Jimmy Johnson inducted to the Cowboys Ring of Honor, or Lincoln Riley inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame?
Jimmy Johnson.
Johnson. Probably. Yeah, because
Jerry has actually said that Jimmy will go into. He'll go in when I'm ready for him to go in. That was a quote from him. He said he'll go in, but he'll go in when I'm ready for him to go in. And that was Jerry being Jerry.
Yeah,
it is, and so
I think like Joe Castiglione and all the administration at OU will probably have to be dead and gone for Lincoln Riley to get any kind of recognition at OU.
Maybe, or at least not on the scene anymore.
But then again, I mean, he won conference championships, but it's not like he's in that elite group with Bud Wilkinson and
didn't win a
Larry
playoff
Switzer
game
and Bob Stoops.
Yeah.
Didn't win a national championship.
Yeah,
and OU's one of those programs where that is the standard. That's how great coaches are measured.
Speaking of recognition, watching the quarterback series, Jeff was reminded that Pat Mahomes made the Texas Tech Ring of Honor Hall of Fame before Graham Harrell or Michael Crabtree.
yeah, that's just get him in there.
Yeah. Our Specs text line is open at 337-3776.
Well, didn't in Texas Tech's defense, Red Raider fans, mark the tape. I'm going to defend you here.
Okay.
Didn't Texas change the number retirement rules so they could retire VY's number? Because it used to be you had to be like a Heisman winner to get your number retired.
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
The actual wording, and I asked about this, the actual wording is you have to win a National Player of the Year award.
Is that how it's always been?
Or
was that changed like around 2007 when VY had his number retired?
No, I think it was, I think it had to, I think it was before that, actually.
Okay.
You didn't not have to win. And then somebody said, what about Bobby Lane? His number, that predated when they set the policy in place, when they set that up there. So, by the way, I think Pro Football Hall of Fame balloting is going out to those who have votes here pretty soon. It'll probably be announced, the next class or whatever pretty soon. And once more, Tommy Nobis is on the veterans ballot. I hope he gets in.
He should.
Yeah.
I think I'll look this up during the break. I think he's the only member of the 1960s all-decade team who's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Need to make that happen. It's not his fault he played for a garbage team.
Yeah. So somebody says they didn't retire Mahomes' number.
Well, they put it. God, y'all want to get technical? They recognized him at the stadium.
They hung the number up. They posted his number and his years at Tech in their ring of honor.
See, Red Raider fans, it's not that I dislike all of you. I dislike the 1% that can't even take the little bit of credit I'm trying to give you.
So, anyway.
I'm giving you a compliment. Just shut up and take it.
All right. You're erasing you're undoing all your good work.
Well,
your good deed.
Well, I did.
well, you did, and so
let's go to the break before I aggravate anybody else or anybody else aggravates me.
Okay. Hey, you do have a Longhorn Notebook coming up.
Yeah, we're going to talk about. Actually, I thought this was going to be a rant against the SEC, but upon further review, it's really. Longhorn Notebook's going to be more about my disappointment in my industry, and I'll explain it on the other side.
Oh, good. I'll look forward to that. Somebody said Ring of Honor inductee and Texas Tech Hall of Fame. So that is the actual. That is the actual.
His name is on the stadium now, is it not?
Yeah, that's. But the person was setting you straight. Say they didn't actually retire his number. They put it in a Ring of Honor as the inductee in Texas Tech Hall of Fame. Here's the question: Have they actually retired any number? I don't know the answer to this. So maybe the texter can let me know. Did they retire Donnie Anderson's number? Did they retire E.J. Hollop's number? That's the question I'm asking.
To Cameron's point. They recognized Patrick Mahomes before they recognized freaking Graham Harrell or Michael Crabtree.
Yeah.
There's 3 Texas Tech Raiders who have numbers retired: Donnie Anderson, E.J. Holub, and Dave Parks.
Okay, yeah, I mentioned E.J. Holub and Donnie Anderson and Dave Parks. Okay, so those numbers are retired and can never be worn again. Patrick Mahomes' number has not been retired, but he is in their Ring of Honor. It's kind of like, North Carolina with basketball, and you know this, Cam. If you walk into the Ding Dome, if you
know what, I've got pictures on my phone from my trip to the Smith Center last summer.
Went in there.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That if you look, there are more jerseys or number hanging up in there than if you walked into a dry cleaners and looked at their daily load. It's just, but there's a clear and distinct delineation between what's called honored numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He uses air quotes around it. Honored numbers and retired numbers.
Cam, I don't know if you can see. I'll text this to you during the break, but there's 3 rows of jerseys that are honored numbers. The difference is there are like Tyler Hansborough, Antoine Jameson, Michael Jordan, James Worthy. Let me see if I can see it this far.
I'm sure George
Phil
Clemack.
Ford.
Yep. Billy Cunningham?
No.
Charlie Scott?
No. You got Cobb.
Yep. Yep.
And I can't tell the other one.
Cartwright Carmichael.
Rosenbluth?
Lenny Rosenbluth, 1957 National Championship.
Yeah, that's it. All the way to Tyler Hansborough. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 8. Those numbers are retired. And then all the rest are the honored numbers, the James Worthies and no, Worthy's numbers retired.
Oh, you did say Worthy? Okay.
Sam Perkins is among your honored numbers. It's, gosh, this is so blurry. Let's see if I can. Tyler Zeller, Harrison Barnes, Ty Lawson, Wayne Ellington, Rashad McCants. So, I mean,
those are ones from the national championships from like 05 and 09.
Yeah.
Other than Hansbrough, who of course was a consensus National Player of the Year, that sort of thing. So okay, so there you go.
Psycho T,
and
his T. I heard the comment when he was getting drafted that Tyler Hansbrough had T-Rex arms.
Yeah.
So now, anytime I look at a clip of Tyler Hansbrough, and even when I watched his brief NBA career, I just envision Tyler Hansbrough with just these tiny arms, just struggling to go get a rebound.
Chad and Zay were talking about it. Zay had that list of most hated college basketball players. Hansbrough, I think, was in the top 5.
I can see that.
Christian Lake was not number 1. That was the big upset.
Who was number 1?
It was Grayson Allen. I guess you have to trip some people to do that.
Doesn't count.
I know, that's what they were saying, you know. It was Grayson Allen was number 1 because he would reach out and stick his foot out and trip people.
You covered a game against Texas of the guy that would be number 1 on my list.
Well, he was in it. J.J. Redick was on that list. He was on that list. Hansbrough. You know who was on that list? A.J. Abrams.
What did AJ ever do to anybody?
No sense at all. He's like number 9.
I could think of a lot of Longhorns who might be hated before I get to AJ Abrams.
Yeah, and that's what they were saying.
I would think James Thomas before AJ Abrams.
Yeah, there
James
you go.
Thomas, Damian James would be on there.
Yeah, all credit to
Jason Klotz for different reasons.
Brian Boddicker.
Yeah,
I mean, all credit to Chad and Zay. They had that list last week. It was hilarious listening to them talk about that. The top 10 hated college basketball players of all time.
Well, I'm not sure A.J. Abrams makes it in the top 10 of hated Texas players.
I know. It was weird, but anyway.
Random. I don't care if we got to get the break or not. We'll get everything in eventually. I was talking to some. I want to say it was Bob Ballou, who Bob is a friend of the station. Bob's a Missouri guy. I want to say he was talking to Arthur Johnson about, hey, who's
now the athletic director at Temple?
No, this is former Texas basketball player, or former Missouri basketball player, Arthur Johnson.
Oh, okay.
And he was talking to him about. He said, hey, who was? I want to say it was Arthur Johnson. He said, hey, who's the most intimidating guy, whatever feared guy you played against him? Before Bob can answer the question, the answer was Gabe Manecki.
Yeah,
Gabe Manecki, no question. Like, he was the guy. He's the don't F with him guy.
Yeah.
Gabe Manecki was during his day.
Punched Rafe LaFrentz in the stomach in a big Monday game at Allen Fieldhouse one night. All right. We'll get to our Longhorn Notebook coming up when we continue. Light the Tower. Yes, by the way, we will give away a copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine on the program today. They sent out a release yesterday saying, I guess they got a lot of queries from people. A lot of times say, hey, where can I find your magazine? Because some have struggled to find it in some places. But I did see it on the shelves. I went in a Barnes & Noble yesterday to pick up my copy of Phil Steele's College Football Magazine.
Look, Jalen Ford making the cover.
He's on it. He's on it there. Yeah. So, how about Chandler Morris on the cover, though?
I got to put a TCU guy on there somewhere.
Chandler Morris is on the cover there of Phil Steele's magazine. Anaya Smith from Texas A&M. Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma.
Who, by the way, we'll talk about that in the next segment, too.
And Cooper Beebe of Kansas State.
That little faux pas.
Okay. So, anyway, they're on the cover. So I went into Barnes & Noble up in Round Rock, and I did see Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine in the Barnes & Noble. So they're in that as well. But they were listing all the places. But one place where you can get one is a copy right here. We've been doing it now for a month, and we'll continue to give away copies of the magazine while we have them. So we'll give away a copy before we're done today, and we'll give you the number to the call at that point. We'll continue with Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. During that break there, our erstwhile producer, Cam Parker just referred to Jeff as being unhinged today, and maybe there's some truth to that sort of thing. I know what is not unhinged is your opportunity for a great home entertainment experience. It's as simple as being in touch with Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations. If you don't like the look of how yours is set up for your bedroom or den or family room, man cave, whatever it might be, and you want to upgrade it, Tom's your guy, because he and the staff have all the latest in audio and visual components. Their latest Sonos sound systems, obviously the latest in HD TVs. You don't have to worry about going out and shopping in the big box stores for that. And then, and I think this is the most important part, you don't have to worry about the mounting, the equipment, and all that stuff that it takes to get it done. Tom and his staff are experts. They handle it all, and they can do it very easily. They'll also work with you within your budget. Check them out on the web at avconsultations.com, and then give Tom a call, 512-255-8678. Let Tom McKay and Audiovisual Consultations help you realize the home entertainment system of your dreams.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up. Everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify. If someone's head off, no human contact. And if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet is to stay away, mother. It's just one of those days. It's all about the he said, she said rules.
If there's a bigger Limp Bizkit fan on this planet than Dusty Mangum, it's Jeff Howe. Dusty Mangum.
I'm not ashamed.
That Dusty Mangum, the hero of the Rose Bowl win over Michigan, listed in the media guide, favorite band or artist was Limp Bizkit. By the way, speaking of favorite band or artist, Friday, Cam Parker does the music survey on Friday.
Every generation, every era has a certain genre of music that you're responsible for that is objectively bad. Craig, y'all did the disco thing, and I'm still not sure about all of that.
I was just a teenager then.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Don't claim. Well, then you're responsible for probably, I don't know, hair metal. There's something unsavory
that
in
happened there.
Yeah.
Then hey, look. When I was in my 20s, I mean, like I said, the unmentionable Air Supply, and then there's Spandau Ballet.
Was ABBA you're doing, or was that a little before you?
That was teenager.
Okay.
Time.
My era, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
New metal happened under us, and we have to wear that. We have to wear that like a scarlet letter.
You and Chad Hastings.
I wear it proudly. little Lincoln Park, some head PE.
So hey,
Corn.
somebody on the Specs text line says, "Nice return cut." See,
By the way, that's what my phone wakes me up to every morning.
well, I
Y'all
could
wanna
see
know
it
why I'm
doing that.
So ornery.
Yeah,
Nothing like Fred Durst screaming at you in the morning, dude. Get you started.
Yeah. So someone said, I would think current player Brock Cunningham would be ranked ahead of
man.
AJ Abrams.
AJ, if you're listening, that's not our list. That was Chad and Zay reading that list?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was some strange deal. I don't know. I have to ask Zay about that since Chad's on vacation this week. Yeah, we'd have to do that. Hey,
Speaking of Texas basketball players, we ran into Harrison Smith. We were having a conversation in the hallway.
had a good
at
chat
coaching
with him.
school.
Came by, said
Yeah.
hi. Yeah, sure did.
I've got a Harrison Smith story that I can't share it on the air,
publicly.
but,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Remind me during the break.
Okay. At dinner, it was a week ago tonight. No, I guess Wednesday night, whatever. At dinner with the Big 12 play-by-play guys.
Oh yeah, the Secret Society.
That's the one. Yeah, the Secret
Did
Society.
you guys go into your secret meeting after that?
We did not wear any weird masks or do any.
Vote to off somebody.
No, we didn't. We didn't do any of that.
Where was Toby Rowland?
He never makes that. He never makes that, and Dave Hunziker rarely makes it because the for whatever reason they. Well, I mean, they're work-related reasons. Neither one are able to make Big 12 Media Days pretty much annually. I can't remember ever seeing Toby, the voice of the Sooners, at a Big 12 Media. I've seen Dave Hunziker once or twice. I don't think I've ever seen Toby at one. He's busy. He's got stuff going on or vacation, and he just doesn't make it.
You figure any chance anybody had to get out of the state of Oklahoma, even for a day or two, they would just jump at it.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen him at one. Like I said, I've seen Dave a time or two. Robert Allen was there, their sideline reporter. He was there, but he wasn't with us. Although we had sideline reporters at the dinner, it was just Big 12 broadcasters. It wasn't just the secret society of the play-by-play guys. We had analysts there as well, and I think John Walters, Iowa State's play-by-play guy, came in the next day with Iowa State when they flew in. I think he flew. Everybody else was there. But when they were there, we got to talking about basketball players, and somebody said, well, there's somebody coming back for his, gosh, it's a fifth season. I said, hey, fellas, got Brock Cunningham. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, that guy. Brock will be back one more year as he works on his master's program in advertising.
Yeah,
one more year for Brock.
Man, if you're talking about hated Texas basketball players, Brock might actually be number one on a lot of lists.
He's up
and
there.
I love Brock, but
he embraces the hate.
He gets it. Yeah, he gets it. He understands.
Yeah. One more year, Brock. Look forward to that. One more year.
Hey, I mean, you asked a guy like Tyrese Hunter that played against Brock in the Big 12 that transferred in, and Timmy Allen said it too. When they got here, initially they hated Brock, and Timmy made no bones about it. He's like, I hated Brock. And Brock hated me, but then they became really good friends after a while.
Cooter on the Specs text line said, after hearing Limp Bizkit, I had to check to make sure my radio was tuned to the right station. So, and then somebody else said, Brock Cunningham, trash. He is not trash. He's a hard-nosed player. He's a college graduate. And he's working on a master's program. And he's a good dude. He's not trash. And I will be the first to defend him.
He loves his jorts, but we won't hold that against him.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, that might be a notch in the good column for Brock. Cam, do you own a pair of jorts?
I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Are they like if you're mowing the grass or something, you wear the jorts, or are they like nice jorts?
Usually when I attend the Coke 600 up at Charlotte Motor Speedway, I'll break them out.
Of course, a NASCAR event. The jorts are NASCAR. Is that required dress, by the way, when you go to a NASCAR race?
Jorts and a cutoff T-shirt.
And a trucker hat that says "I farted" on it or something.
All right,
not the farted part.
I was going to show you a picture, but it can't tell it in there.
I kid, NASCAR fans. I jest.
Somebody else who I can tell you is wears jorts is my my oldest brother, but you can't see him in there. We're at dinner. There's a picture, and there were nice jorts. There were nice jorts when we were at dinner. So, if such a thing can exist, and that it was. Let's get to our Longhorn Notebook for this hour.
Got one more cut from Sark, his press conference at coaching school on Kelvin Banks. I was just thinking, we're getting ready for college football awards Awards season, Craig. Preseason watch lists are about to come out. I got a feeling Kelvin Banks will be on a few of them. And really, he was – you realize Sark got through his whole press conference at coaching school without anybody asking about quarterbacks?
That's amazing.
Blown away. I'm looking around like, no, none of you ask about quarterback. Don't waste a question. We got like 15 minutes with Sark. You can ask him something else.
Don't ask him. Well, when we had him on, when we had him on last week, we didn't ask him about it. The only reference made was at the end of the interview, and I said, we're going to let you go. I know people are pulling on you. And I said, we got your quarterback coming up. And he said, he's way more interesting than I am.
So the only player Sark was asked about was Kelvin Banks. And just some numbers I've gone over on this show and that I've written about at Horns 24/7. Sark runs those down right here talking about Kelvin Banks.
Well, I think Kelvin had a great freshman year. He went against, I got to get this right, 4 first-round draft pick defensive ends. And I'm going to be remiss if I leave somebody out, but I'm going to take a run at it, and then somebody help me along the way, okay? So he went against Will Anderson. He went against Tyree Wilson. He went against Felix the Cat from Kansas State. He went against Will McDonald from Iowa State. 0 sacks. So I think the guy's got A, elite talent and ability, but B, the maturity that it takes, and then it's unique because everybody talks about you have to graduate early and coming out of high school and get there early. He didn't. He came in the summer. And when he arrived in the summer, he continued to work and do what he needed to do, and ultimately he became a starter. So I do think the sky's the limit. He's cut from the right cloth, man, and we're fortunate to have him.
When you talk about the offensive line, Craig, we thought Connor Williams was going to be this guy, and Connor had an All-American sophomore year, but it was hurt his junior year, and we really didn't get to see the full go of it. Sam Cosme was going to have one of those years, and Sam had a good year, but it was the COVID year, and everything was just out of whack that year. This is the latest of a guy that you really feel like, okay, he's got a chance to be a cornerstone of this offensive line, the kind of guy you can build everything around. But it feels different with Kelvin Banks because, again, Sam Cosme redshirted and then started at right tackle, then moved over to left. Connor Williams did start the first game of his freshman season at left tackle, but I think we can all agree the offensive line situation was much different in 2015 than it was in 2022. And for Kelvin Banks to do what he did, he's one of those guys that if everything keeps going on the current trajectory, he's not going to be here 4 years. He's going to be here 3, and then he's going to go be a top 10 pick of the draft. That's just the way those things go. It's been a while since Texas has had one of those guys. It feels real like, I know there was some talk about that with Connor Williams and Cosme, but it feels real when you talk about with Kelvin Banks, that high NFL upside that he's got.
Here's what I want to know about Kelvin Banks. Since you mentioned Sam Cosme, can he catch a pass?
That I don't know.
I bet he's athletic enough he could.
Probably. Wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't doubt it.
I still see Cosme rumbling into the end zone against West Virginia.
But when we talk about the offensive line and how much better can this group get, Kelvin Banks' ceiling is high, and you've got guys on that offensive line that, they all return all 5 starters, but other than really Jake Majors, you forget how young that group was last year. Hayden Connor hadn't started a game. Cole Hudson hadn't started a game yet. Christian Jones was coming off a year where he wasn't that good in 2021. Now you get Christian Jones back after a solid year. You know what Banks has. And between Majors, Connor, Hudson, and DJ Campbell, of those 4, you're going to end up with 3 really good starters on the interior offensive line.
I'm glad you brought up Christian Jones because I'm sure you remember this. I remember this as well. Going in at right where we are right now in July, or even into August, going into the practice. And folks were talking about the offensive line, and they said Christian Jones. And the universal reaction was, oh, he's back. He's back from 1 more year. Okay.
Well, everybody assumed he was going to be the odd man out.
Yeah, because he's not. And then he winds up, as you said, a very solid year for him.
That's all you can. You can. Ideally, you'd want, and you think of great college tackles, right? Like you'd want Orlando Pace or Jonathan Ogden, Justin Blaylock. Like you'd want one of those guys. But the best thing you can say about an offensive tackle is if you don't think about them throughout the course of a game. Like, oh yeah, he handled his business. I don't even remember seeing him out there.
And the most audible thing you hear about him is Banks as a freshman when he was getting after the Oklahoma players and was having none of it on some of the talk.
That helped set the tone for 49-0.
Yeah,
was him. That's what that game is about. Guys that the quicker you understand that game is played to the echo of the whistle, the better off you're going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, he certainly did that last.
And the other thing I wanted to mention too, like I said, I thought I was going to get in here and rant and rave, but
you usually do.
Well, I tend to sometimes, but
you already did to the Czech fan who was just trying to make sure you were correct in your categorization of Patrick Mahomes, saying his number wasn't retired; it was honored. He's in the Texas Tech Ring of Honor and Hall of Fame, and his number up on the wall.
But Josh Williams, the LSU running back. I saw some things attributed to him yesterday, and basically, they're in for Texas and Oklahoma are in for a rude awakening when they get to the league, and then this is what all this was attributed to Josh Williams. They don't know what they're getting into, is the quote, and I saw this in some headlines. But he did say, I don't think they know what they're getting into. The SEC is a beast. But if you just looked at the headline and just looked at that quote, you'd miss this part of what Josh Williams said. I love the fact that the SEC is expanding more to Texas. I feel like a lot of kids from Texas leave Texas because they want to play in the SEC, but now they're bringing it more to Texas. I think it's a great thing for football. That's a pretty freaking big part of that statement. And I just, look, I understand in my industry. I understand we have article quotas we got to meet. There are numbers you got to meet, benchmarks with page views and sessions and all kinds of stuff. And I understand the catchy headlines probably going to get more people to click on it. I'd like to think there's a balance between doing that and being responsible. I'm just asking folks in my industry, just try to be a little more responsible with what you're doing. Do I screw up headlines from time to time? Yeah, I can mess it up, and I've been guilty of it. But let's just because this is the type of stuff that for those of us that are on a beat, it makes players less likely to want to open up.
Yeah,
because now they think, okay, I said this. Now every time I say something remotely interesting, it's going to get twisted on me, and it's going to make it look like I said something that I really didn't mean.
Yeah.
So just, especially the folks that have to aggregate stuff, just be a little more responsible. That's all I'm saying. Just kind of, because I was like, oh man, I was coming in here ready to defend Texas and Oklahoma and be like, look, I get the SEC. It's a line of scrimmage league. It's the toughest league in the country, but let's not act like everybody's Georgia. Let's not act like everybody in that league is Alabama. You've got some teams that Texas and OU can go in there and beat.
I think Mac Engel, the forward Star Telegram, wrote a deal about that. He's always kind of looking down his nose at Texas and Texas A&M anyway, and he's always pumping up TCU and all that. But he made a valid point where he said they're not all Georgia and Alabama and maybe LSU.
Yeah.
He said there's Vanderbilt in there, and there's and there's
Kentucky's solid.
Yeah.
Mississippi State,
South Carolina's on the rise.
Yeah,
I would say. Ole Miss, hey, we're seeing what Kiffin is doing there.
By the way, Shane Beamer held court at coaching school.
Did he really?
How about the South Carolina opens the season with North Carolina, and both head coaches were there to address the THSCA this weekend. It's really random to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in here. I was going to get here. Man, everybody in the SEC is getting all pumped up thinking, A&M went in there their first year and competed. Granted, they had a generational talent at quarterback, but they went in there and competed. That team wasn't all Johnny Manziel. They had some pros on that team. So Texas and Oklahoma, they're going to be fine. You're going to realize that both of them have the talent to compete week in and week out in that league. Now, can they go win championships in that league? That's another discussion.
Yep.
And I think from that standpoint, Texas knows what they're getting into. I go back to this, Craig. The Arkansas game, Sark's first year, the guys that are still on that roster, that was the F around and find out game.
Yeah.
Because Sark even said it going in, like, look, if you don't come prepared, his exact quote was, you're going to get your ass knocked off.
Yep.
And those of us that were in Fayetteville, those of us that watched it, it's exactly what happened. And I think this team understands, those guys that are left, understands what you're getting into going into that league.
All right, coming up next, Inconceivable. When we continue to Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260. We're live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com. You've heard me tell you about my good friend John Hardy and the great staff at Divided Sky Roofing and Solar. But right now, when the temperatures are getting to their hottest, that's when it's important to remind you they are also a full-service solar company. So now we're into the hottest season. Why not try to, get those power bills to come down a little bit? Get a Timberline solar shingle roof installed. Maybe you already have solar. Maybe you got solar panels or you already have solar shingles. But if you don't have a backup battery, then you're really just kind of throwing money out the window, because with a backup battery, you're able to use all of the power you make instead of giving it back to the power company. And the batteries are now covered by the Inflation Reduction Act. So you get that extra tax credit, and we can all certainly use that. John and his staff are solar experts. They can repair and service your existing solar system. Those other roofers you're hearing about are just selling you a solar roof. Divided Sky Roofing and Solar can repair and service your existing solar system. The crew are all master electricians. They're all NABCET certified. That's the solar version of being a master plumber. So why not trust your roofing and solar needs to the experts, our friends at Divided Sky Roofing and Solar. 512-995-ROOF, TEC license number 37397. Check them out on the web at dividedskyaustin.com. Okay. Here's an example of inconceivable from the Specs text line. Longhorn Bear, one of our regular contributors, says, I am, in capital letters, so ready for football to start. ESPN Top 10 on Sunday had a pickleball play as number 4. Ugh.
Yeah, sports programming at this time of year, if it's not baseball or football previews, you pretty much got
a little bit of MLS.
It's the equivalent of the Ocho. It's like the Ocho.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Raise your hand if you're in this room on the other side of the glass, including Kim, if you bought a lottery ticket to the Powerball.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
I'm the only one who did. I did. Nobody won. The jackpot is going to $1 billion for the third time in the game's history. No ticket matched all 6 numbers in Monday night's drawing. It ranks right now as the 7th largest U.S. lottery jackpot, the 3rd largest Powerball jackpot, behind the world record $2.04 billion Powerball jackpot won last year in California, and the $1,586,000 million Powerball jackpot won in 2016, according to the lottery. So, next drawing tomorrow night. So, just letting you know.
What'd you guys do? What's the first thing y'all would do if you won the lottery? Let me rephrase it.
Make sure
What's the
deposited clearly.
No.
Exactly.
We could talk about investing and all that stuff. What is the first frivolous purchase you mentioned? You've got dispensable income. I'm just gonna go crazy. I just want to buy something extravagant that I know is gonna immediately depreciate in value. What's just that one wheels off purchase you'd make if you won the lottery?
Maybe if I could buy the degree for my youngest son as he no. He's got
you
one
gonna
year
go
left.
like Billy Madison's
Yeah,
dad?
right. No. He's earning it on his own. I don't know. That's a good question. I guess it depends on the size of the lot. If it was $2 billion,
Yeah.
I might go up on one of those space deals.
Oh yeah.
I might do
Go
that.
to space?
Might do that.
But you still call Longhorn games though, right, Craig?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't think I'd stop working.
No, I wouldn't.
No, because then you're gonna burn through it.
Yeah.
Bizarro Dale Dudley, that's a hookers and coke is always a responsible answer for this question. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. At least you're honest. You know? Okay. Exactly, man. 2 chicks at the same time.
All
that's,
right.
That's the kind of stuff. Those are the kinds of answers I'm looking for.
Okay. All right. Hey, I've got a sports inconceivable.
Yes, Texter, even though my name is not spelled with a G, I would.
See, even though you're not GEOFF,
I would buy a Burger King
just to bring back.
I would franchise a Burger King, and my Burger King is going to sell chicken Whoppers.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're going to run the world being the only Burger King in America that sells chicken Whoppers.
Somebody said, didn't the Titanic sub teach you anything? Yes. Don't go under sea. Go up in space.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't go under.
Don't take a questionable sub to the depths of the ocean.
You know what? Scientists will tell you that we know far less about what's down there than we do about what's out there in space. Far less.
There's a lot of stuff going on out there that we don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah, true. So, major. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll stop this in a minute. But new pants to replace the one I just crapped in.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. All right. So, baseball tonight. The Reds had this great first half of the season, and they've kind of, stumbled a bit after the All-Star game.
Ellie De La Cruz.
He's having a great year, and his good friend is going to make his major league debut tonight. His good friend is Christian Encarnacion Strand. He's the number 5 prospect in the National Central Organization, is making his debut in the game. He has already set a major league record.
Is this the former Oklahoma State Cowboy?
Encarnacion Strand, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. He has the longest name in major league history. See this jersey? It starts from way down on the left and goes way down. Now, That was in spring training. The Reds have come back and said all that's going to be on the back of his uniform is Encarnacion.
No, come on.
Yep.
Cam, did you see that thing?
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
Yeah.
It's going to
Man.
be so it's the longest name.
It's like those NBA jerseys, from like the 60s, 70s. Remember the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that went all the way down?
Yeah.
Past
It's
the
like that
back?
kind of deal. But yes, it's Mark Sheldon, who covers the team, said, for those wondering, Encarnacion Strand will wear number 33, and by his request, only Encarnacion will be on his jersey and not the full last name. That was the case at spring training also. It did, but he posed with that.
Come on.
Yeah. He passes.
Jared Saltalamacchia.
He's tied for third.
Damn.
Simeon Woods Richardson for the Twins last year was second. Then there was a tie for third.
Simeon Woods Richardson, by the way, one-time Texas Longhorn signing.
Yep. Tied for third were Luis Alexander Basabe, Christian Betancourt, Faustino de los Santos, Jared Saltalamacchia, Valerio de los Santos, William Van Landingham, the Giants, and Theodore Breitenstein from the 1891 St. Louis Browns. So Christian Encarnacion Strand, the former Oklahoma State Cowboy.
That last guy sounds like a stuffy Englishman.
Yeah, it does a bit. So anyway,
drinking Earl Grey in the clubhouse.
Yeah, we have an airline story for you because I know you're always intrigued by the airlines.
I am.
So we do have that. Yesterday we gave you the story about a kid barred from American Airlines for 3 years for trying to skip lag a ticket, that kind of thing. So I would only offer this up to you. If you're getting ready to fly on any major commercial airline and you get a phone call and or a text that tells you that your flight's been canceled or something like that, make sure when you call back the number, you're actually calling the airline. A traveler's Delta flight was canceled, so we called the airline number listed. It led to a scammer. Shmuley Avers called a number listed on Google, but it turned out he wasn't talking to Delta. After the call, he said he found at least 6 other airlines with wrong numbers listed on Google. He said, quote, "My Delta flight got canceled from JFK. The customer service line was huge, so I Googled a Delta JFK phone number, and he got an 888 number. Thinking I reached Delta, started telling them about getting me on a new flight. The phone call led him to a scam, and after more digging, he said he discovered at least 6 other airlines with what he suspected were scam numbers. So in other words, you call them and you say, hey, I need to get on another flight. Okay, blah, 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 blah. We need your credit card number.
Ooh.
That's the deal.
That's a tough one.
That's the scam there. So be careful on it. Okay. One other thing, we do have a fast food nugget, and it might involve nuggets, actually. Do you know the history of the Happy Meal?
I do not.
All right, the Happy Meal actually, take a guess at what year the Happy Meal actually was recognized and called the Happy Meal when it started.
Not as late as I'm going to think. I'm going to go 82.
Not that far off, Cam.
89.
77
Okay.
is when it started. 77. And there's this big dispute over who actually started it. The one who said she invented it was Yolanda Fernandez de Coffin, who said she started it back in 1974. She called it Ronald's Menu and then got a Ronald's Award at the convention. But then McDonald's said no. They got it from actually the burger company Burger Chef, which is no longer in
Burger Chef.
We had a Burger Chef in Greensboro. That was the company they used in Mad Men for one of their big ad accounts, by the way, Burger Chef. They had a meal called the Fun Meal, small hamburger, fries, drink, dessert, and a toy delivered to kids in a colorful box. But Dick Brams, an ad executive, said he noticed his kid eating cereal and reading the back of the box of the cereal. So he wanted a very colorful box that had like Hamburglar and Ronald McDonald on there. And then another guy, Bob Bernstein, says, yeah, it was my agency that did that, and he's the one who named it the Happy Meal.
What did y'all name the kids' meal at Wiener King?
I think it was just called a kids meal
Okay.
when they had that. Yeah, in Wiener King. It was. I forgot to tell you, when I went through Greensboro, I did see the sign of the old Wiener King.
Did you?
Yeah.
Bring
the
back
site
some
of
memories?
It did, but it's an Asian
When you were the
cuisine place
king
now.
of wieners?
No, I was an employee that worked there for all of a month. Okay. At
Yeah, you
Wiener
were
King.
employee of the month.
No, I wasn't either. We have hour number 2 coming up here and light the tower on the horn. Second hour, Light the Tower on the Horn. Craig Ray and Jeff Howe with you. Cameron Parker, producer,
By the way,
alongside.
Tyler Pendergrass wins Texture of the Day.
Yeah?
Yes, you win our adulation. Said, you know what needs to be brought back? The Bigfoot pizza from Pizza Hut.
I remember that.
I agree. I agree 100%.
I remember that Bigfoot pizza, yeah. Yeah, that's okay. All right. Clean up.
Oh, that's the first time I've seen the Ohtani bat flip.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
All saw it live when it happened, and he launched the bat almost as far as he did the ball. I mean, he and then they put that ancient warrior hat thing on him when he got to the dugout. There was that kind of deal.
That was glorious.
Yeah, yeah. So,
hey, you don't want to got a bat flip? Don't throw him a meatball. How about that?
Yeah. And then he kind of looked like he twitched something in his next at bat there. And in his next at bat in the ninth, he ended up striking out.
He's insane. It's sickening how good that guy is.
Yeah. So interesting to see if he's
Definitely some pain there.
Yeah.
After that strike, you can kind of tell.
Yeah. And then the Angels ended up winning it in the 10th inning over the Yankees.
Imagine being 50-45 and you're nine games back in last place in your division.
Yeah.
Well, they're not in last place because that would be the Swinging A's of Oakland who are in last place.
No, talking about the Yankees.
Oh, the Yankees. Okay,
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the Angels. My bad, Cam.
Angels are close, but they're under 500.
Cam,
even
you
after
can
last
come in
night's
here and
win.
kick me dead square in my ass for calling you out on that.
No, it's okay.
I apologize.
I think you have to get quite to that. It's all right.
know.
Mistakes happen, so it'll happen. So the Rangers, by virtue of that walk-off wild pitch last night, stand 3.5 up on the Astros in the American League West. The Mariners are 8 back, Angels 9 back. The A's are 31.5 out of first. There.
Is there a chance there, Craig, you think?
No chance. Tampa Bay, with that loss, still only leads Baltimore by 1 game in the East. That's because Baltimore, which had an 8-game winning streak going, lost to the Dodgers last night at Camden Yards 6-4. Chris Taylor with a grand slam to turn that game around there. Twins are up 1.5 games in the Central. They're 1 above 500. Gene Watson, of course, our MLB insider with the Kansas City Royals, will join us tomorrow on the program, and I ask him almost every time, hey, are you sure the American League Central Division winner is going to be above 500? And he says he's reasonably sure. 1 above 500 right now. The Braves are 30 above 500. They're up 10 on the Marlins in the National League East. The Reds are 2 back of the Brewers. They will pick up a rain-suspended game of the Giants with Encarnacion Strand making his major league debut. And then the Dodgers are up 2 on the Giants and 2.5 on the Diamondbacks in the West. Cleanup from hour number 1. Our friend up in Belton says, I'm going to the Rangers Rays game on Wednesday. Word. There you go.
Be safe, Belton Gringo.
Yeah, and somebody asked me on the Specs text line if I was going to any of the Dodgers-Rangers games this weekend. Friday night. Linda and I are going up to see the Friday game. So we will definitely be there for that. I think if the rotation works like I think Tony Gonsolin will pitch, which will make Linda happy. She's a big fan of the Catman.
Is she?
Yeah.
What about Turd Ferguson? We get a Turd Ferguson.
He pitched
sighting?
last night. Yeah. He's done a pretty solid job out of the pen in relief. Caleb Ferguson is his name, but Jeff calls him that after the
He needs to pitch
character.
with an oversized hat.
Yeah, really.
It's a big
Funny,
cowboy hat. It's funny.
It's funny, he said, I just found out yesterday that Mets great Jerry Grody lives in Belton. Yeah, how about that? Was the catcher for the Mets and the Miracle Mets team of 69. So somebody said, Craig, I've been a professional square dance caller in Central Texas, 42 years. I hear you want to call a square dance. I can hook you up.
There you go, Craig. Get with it, Craig. Cross it off the bucket list.
I mentioned on the program yesterday, because it requires elocutionary skill, 2 things that I would love to be able to learn to do if I have time to learn them would be to call an auction and to call a square dance. So, yeah, I think I would like that. Our man on the Specs text line ever there, CB, said in 1993, Jeff, so we're talking 30 years ago, You could order a Bigfoot pizza and what is
Get
that?
HBO. It was a special pizza Hut had.
It's special. Oh, get HBO.
I buy a pizza and I get a subscription to HBO. Man,
That's quite a combo there.
Jeff, check your Twitter because CB tagged you in a Bigfoot Pizza Hut commercial that was released in 1993 that I'm sure you'll love.
Yeah. It's a Burger Chef, had Burger Chef and Jeff. And then it's going to invest my lottery winnings from last night, betting on the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. Good luck with that. Westlake Soccer, number 1 on top 10 plays this morning. Jonesy for football. Westlake Soccer. Can't be playing soccer right now.
and yes, not an app guy. Scammers should be boiled in oil and have their fat sold for soap.
We're talking about the scammers.
Straight
there with
into the
airline.
cauldron.
Yeah, there you go. Nate saying if he won the lottery, he's asking, would you? Somebody said, hey, get a jet for all your traveling, Craig. And Jeff, he says, buy Gerald to close it down.
That'd be a great place to start, Nate.
Need to stop that. Cooter says, when discussing great offensive linemen, not knocking Pace or Ogden or Jeff for mentioning them, but why does no one mention Anthony Munoz?
They should. I don't know.
Probably the best offensive lineman in my lifetime, and I'm old. He said he was. He was great.
Anthony
offensive.
Munoz is at the end of his career was at the beginning of my football watching career. So it's a little bit out of reference for me, but I mean, I've gone back and watched the tape. I know how awesome Anthony Munoz was.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackie Slater's another one, Craig.
Jackie Slater was a great tackle. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Great tackle, big number 78. There. Somebody said, didn't Michael Huff buy an IHOP with his first big check?
Mhm.
I know he told Jim Rome he wanted to buy an IHOP.
I think he ended up doing it.
I have to ask him when we see him. Ask Huff Daddy because he said he loved IHOP because he loved pancakes and fried shrimp, and he would get both when he'd go to the
random combo.
He would get it down there at the location there at I-35 and whatever 3rd Street, 2nd Street,
Yeah.
right there.
Mhm.
He would go down to that one. He would eat at that one a lot. We did a show from there one time.
Really?
Yes. We did a show
random.
from there, yeah. Somebody said, I would buy a $23 million McLaren F1 GTR.
You mean remotes? Remember when we used to do those, kids?
Yeah, there was one
Yeah.
of those. Multiple houses
used to
in
happen.
multiple states to escape the heat. Yeah, that's a good way to spend a lottery check if you did do that.
By the way, Craig, it was Westlake High School in New York City. Number one.
Okay. Started saying that because some state, and for those who are still confused by this, there are some states who have some of their sports actually take place during the summer months. Like up in the upper Midwest, they'll do baseball and softball. High schools will and then play them then, or soccer. So that does happen. CB mentioned that your colleague Taylor Gaspar's father played on the Miracle Mets. Rod
Yep. Mhm.
Gaspar. Yeah.
Here's the kind of text I like. Texter said I'd buy a new butt. Mine is cracked.
All right. Yeah.
Love it. Love me some dad humor.
Yeah. Now that we've officially descended into our sophomore season. All right.
I'm always sophomore, Craig. That's
I know.
how I roll.
All right. We need a break. When we come back, hey, you know what we're doing right now? We're giving away a copy of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. If you're caller number 9.
Niner.
Number 9, as it said. So at Revolution number 9 on the Beatles' White Album. Be caller number 9.
Tommy Kramer, number 9. How about that?
Who's the best number 9 of all time?
Best number 9.
Tony Romo.
Sonny
obviously.
Jurgensen.
Tony Romo. Romo is a miracle.
He was a miracle.
Yeah, he's number 9. So,
Sonny Jurgensen. Carson Palmer was 9.
okay. Probably not John Harris for the Longhorns.
Nick Foles.
John Harris
Westlake?
had a 1,000-yard season.
He
Yeah,
did.
Nick Foles is up there.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll think of one.
Best number 9 of all time.
Joe Burrow might be it before it's all said and done.
Yeah, before it's all said and done. Okay.
Casey Kane.
There you attaboy, Cam.
Yeah.
Bill Elliott, Cam. How about that?
Yeah. There you go. Best number 9 of all time. Okay. All right. Gringo says, I'd buy a castle in the Scottish Highlands and get satellite TV to watch. Ooh, that's
You know what?
nice.
Seriously though, if the big money purchase.
Yeah.
Probably like a lake house in Wisconsin or Minnesota for the summertime.
That would be really good.
Going up there, being on the lake or the river up north fascinates me in the summer.
It's something up on the Great Lakes, maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be nice there.
I would have to agree.
Okay. All right. There you go. Jim McMahon, somebody says, greatest number 9 of all time.
See, I just looked at the text and I saw Reggie Jackson. I'm like, you'd buy Reggie Jackson? That's against the law, brother. That's insulting. You can't do that. But
Dakari
we're talking about
Pearson.
number 9s.
says CV Dakari Pearson. Mike Madonna. Ooh, good call there.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. So there's best number 9 of all time. There you go. All right. When we come back, we'll have our Flex 30 update.
Luol Deng.
Ooh.
Throw that out there.
There have been some better number 9s.
Well, I just thought of Luol Deng. Yes, Tommy Kramer from San Antonio Lee. Yeah. Rice great.
Raul Allegre.
Good for the Vikings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we have we'll have our Flex 30 updates and our second hour Longhorn Notebook when we continue with Light the Tower on the Horn. 104.9.
It was 1989, my thoughts were short, my hair was long. Caught somewhere between a boy and man. She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan.
This shows the age gap and difference. I didn't realize when this first started that he was rejoining with Kid Rock with this return cut. I thought you were actually coming back with the classic the Warren Zevon classic, Werewolves of London. He's just sampling the opening bit for that, just as he samples there with Sweet Home Alabama. So I thought it was because I was all set to talk about. There's that line in Werewolves of London where he says, "I saw a werewolf drinking a pina colada in Trader Vic's, and his hair was perfect. When I was out in Los Angeles for the Rose Bowl, I think it was the first Rose Bowl, the one against Michigan. There are very few Trader Vic's restaurants left. There was one in the Metroplex for a long time, and there are very few left, but there was one inside the Beverly Hilton. And I went there just to have a pina colada, just so I could say, like Warren Zevon, and my hair was not perfect, but I went in there to do that. And I don't even like pina coladas, but just to say that I went and had a pina colada at Trader Vic's. Just one time to do that. But that was another song, not that song right there. So anyway, do we have a winner there on our
Alan Jones is our winner for today. Congrats to Alan. He was very excited. He actually screamed on the phone. He was really pumped up for it.
All right, Alan. Way to go. Caller number 9. And folks are asking, somebody said, hey, Drew Brees, Roger Maris. I would have to go with Ted Williams.
Yeah.
As the greatest number 9 of all time. But there were others. Steve McNair, Tony Parker. Somebody said Hank Blaylock, former Ranger.
You think, we've talked about this before. You think about what Ted Williams did in his career. Just look at the numbers. Then consider how much time he missed in his prime.
Basically 6 years.
By serving his country. There's no telling what kind of numbers Ted Williams finishes with.
Both in World War II and in the Korean conflict. And both World War II and Korean War. He was a fighter pilot.
What a badass Ted Williams was.
And still hit 521 home runs. Still batted .388 at age 39.
It's insane.
.388 in 1958.
Had a home run in his last at bat.
The not very nice guy says Ted Williams is correct. Forgot about him. Yeah. But somebody else said, no, the obvious answer. And it'd be kind of hard to argue with this. Just saying. Best number 9 of all time, Bobby Boucher.
Exactly.
Got the picture of him there. Bobby Boucher. The water boy. Justin Tucker wears number 9. Greatest kicker of all time. Greatest number 9.
You remember when Bobby Boucher intercepted the pass and his pants fell down and then he ran for the touchdown bare ass?
Yes. Bobby Boucher.
Or what about the time he tackled the guy from Louisville and threw him into the stands?
Yeah. CB said, what about Ted Williams' head? Yeah. That's unfortunate.
There were some great announcer moments in that movie. Like, I like the bit where you hear Bobby Boucher tackle somebody, and then all you hear is somebody go, my leg. And Chris Fowler just is looking at the monitor going, wow, that is a disturbing image.
Indeed.
Chris has come a long way from that to announcing Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Not a big Chris Fowler fan, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I didn't think I'd say this, even though he kind of lost the fastball as a college football announcer. I really miss Brent Musburger on the big time ABC or ESPN game.
Okay.
I would take Musburger over Chris Fowler. And honestly, I mean, I don't know if it's just because I played a lot of the video game, but to me, and I'm glad he's been the voice of the SEC on CBS for a few years now. If Brad Nessler's calling a game, it feels like a big-time game to me.
Yeah, understand that. Absolutely. How about a Flex 30 update for us?
I'm glad my Brent Musburger comment went over like a fart in church.
Yep. Should have. I'll just say that. CB says Malcolm Williams, number 9. Yeah. Didn't Leonard Davis wear 9 for a while? He had that 9 that was stretched out across his jersey. I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did. We had given preseason rankings or projections from Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, since we give away the copies of the magazine, which we're told are now on. I'm not going to say newsstand because you don't really have newsstands.
No. Craig, go old school. We call it newsstand.
Find it where your periodicals may be sold. Certainly at Barnes & Noble, because I saw it yesterday myself at the one in Round Rock, and they're at other places as well. I think you mentioned yesterday you'll probably see them in H-E-B's and Walmarts as well.
Your periodical distribution outlet.
Or, as my friend Dave Garrett says, Walmarts, because his grandmother used to call it that. Walmarts. You know,
my wife's grandmother goes with Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart. How you spell that? Grandma used to send you. What do you mean? Walmart. Right. And what is it? Walmarts. Anyway. But the 6A rankings, and as we mentioned, the 6A rankings that they do in the magazine are different than the other rankings because they don't split into the two divisions for the playoffs until you get to playoff time. Therefore, during the regular season, they just do a top 25 poll instead of two top 10s, one for each division of 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, and Class A, 1A, the six-man division. So they do a top 25 poll, but they have a top 50 preseason poll. And here it is. From number 50 on going down. How about an El Paso school making the top 50? Pebble Hills at 50. Arlington I, 49. Then it goes Cy Ranch, and I'm ascending order. Houston Heights, Conroe Oak Ridge, Clear Falls, San Antonio Reagan. Harker Heights is 43rd.
Shout out to the Knights.
There you go. Spring Decaney, Waxahachie, Converse Judson is 40th. Been a long time since the Rockets were ranked that low to start. Deer Park is 39, then going up from there, Midland Legacy, the former Midland League. Klein Cain, San Benito, Round Rock is 35th in the rankings. Shadow Creek, Allen is 33rd in the rankings. Arlington Martin, Houston Lamar, Houston C.E. King. Fort Bend Hightower, Dickinson. Highland Park is 27th. Katy Tompkins, Fort Bend Ridgepoint, Trophy Club, Byron Nelson, 24. Dripping Springs, number 23. Had a good chat with Galen Zimmerman during coaching school, visited with him. McKinney is 22. Then it's Summer Creek, Rockwall, Klein Collins, inside the top 20 now. North Crowley, Brennan from the north side of San Antonio, Louisville 15, then it's Prosper, Cibolo Steel, the Woodlands. Lake Travis is 11, Atascocita 10, Denton Guyer 9, South Lake Carroll 8, Vandegrift number 7, Spring Westfield 6, Katy 5, Westlake 4, DeSoto 3, Galena Park North Shore 2, and defending Division I state champion Duncanville number 1. So there's your top 50 in Class 6A. As according to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. That is our Flex 30 update.
Real quick, Craig.
Yep.
Travis Sikora signed yesterday with the Nationals, $2.6 million. Congrats to Travis and his family.
No doubt. And everybody knew he was going to sign with that. I mean, it was great that he gone the route of college, he was going to be a Texas Longhorn, but I think everybody knew he would be drafted high enough. And he's a third-round pick. What, first pick of the third round?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he $2.5 million? Did you say 2.6?
I think closer to 2.6.
2.6. So congratulations to Travis Sikora and his family.
They have 3 Round Rock Dragons now in the Nationals organization.
Yeah, but that's true. So all right. So congratulations to him as well. All right. So there is a Flex 30 update. Let's sally forth. We move forward into our second hour Longhorn Notebook.
It's interesting, Cam, that you brought in. That's a nice segue to bring up Travis Sikora because let's go ahead and get into the conversation I had with David Pierce at coaching school. I think one of the big topics is how did the coaching staff makeup get to where it is now? Woody Williams out and Troy Tulowitzki coming back as director of player personnel. Really what it boiled down to, and this is exactly what David Pierce told me, his plan all along was to have Philip Miller be in that administrative role for a year and then bring him back. Even with adding a third assistant, if you bring Philip Miller back, now you've got too many coaches. You can only have 3 full-time assistants.
Right.
So as he was looking at it, Philip does so many things for that program. I've heard players refer to him as kind of the culture guy, the glue guy that helps keep everything together. He's worked with outfielders. He's worked with catchers, and he helped Caleb Longley last year working with the outfielders, was able to help Cameron Rupp as the student assistant working with catchers. He also, and David Pierce said this is something really underrated, he said Philip Miller can hit fungo and do batting practice for as long as anybody he's ever seen could. He said that's a really underrated thing to have in a guy on a staff. So he wanted to bring Philip Miller back. He knew Steve Rodriguez is really good in his role as working with, he works with the infielders, also works with the hitters. And in terms of base running, I think you'll probably see Steve Rodriguez as the third base coach now, Philip Miller going back to being the first base coach. So what does that leave you with? That basically leaves you with the decision. Do you want to keep Caleb Longley, who, Craig, as you know, has been a real asset to this staff and is seen as kind of a young, up-and-coming guy, or do you want to keep Woody Williams? Well, David Pierce said he thought about it for a long time and was, as he described it, kind of had the itch to get back into the pitching coach role and felt like, okay, if you keep Woody at that point, then maybe your coaching staff is a little too pitching heavy. So basically the decision was made, do you keep Caleb Longley or Woody Williams? Said it was nothing against the way Woody coached, says nothing about him as a person. It's just somebody had to go to make the numbers work, and it ended up being Woody was the odd man out.
Yeah.
So now they're moving on with Philip Miller, Steve Rodriguez, and Caleb Longley as your staff. You still got Chris Gordon in his off-field role to help with analytics for both hitters and pitchers, and you got David Pierce as the pitching coach. You're bringing Tulo back as director of player personnel. As far as Travis Secor is the only signee who was drafted, so the rest of your signing class is coming back intact. I asked David Pierce for a couple of the newcomers that could help him. I think you're looking at 3 California kids or 3 kids he's targeted to really help. I think when you look at pitchers, he said George Zaharias is a guy that can come in and help them right away. Will Gasparino was the first name out of his mouth, and he was a guy that we knew if he was going to get drafted, it was going to take a lot to sign him, and maybe for some teams just that price tag was too high. So he's coming to Texas. And the other kid he mentioned as an infielder is Casey Borba. So those 3 guys are guys that he feels like can come in and give them something right off the bat. So keep an eye on those 3 guys among the newcomers. Cam, you'll be happy to know I did ask David Pierce about Nick Sanders and their catching situation. I think one thing we forget, the veteran presence could just be Kimball Schuessler coming back from the injury. So you'll have him coming back. You'll have Ryan Galvan coming back with a year under his belt. Oliver Service is a catcher that they signed who can do a number of different things, but Pierce said he can be a catcher. And then you got Nick Sanders. I don't know if Nick Sanders will be a guy that necessarily helps them right away, but they love his upside. David Pierce loves Nick Sanders' upside. Has an extremely high ceiling. But didn't mention anything about him being able to help out right now. But they're really excited. I know, Cam, he was a guy that you were thinking might get drafted and be drafted pretty high, but a guy that Texas is real fortunate to get on campus. In terms of the guys that were drafted that could come back, could sign, and again, this is David Pierce's feelings. His exact words to me on Dylan Campbell were, he hasn't signed yet, and I'm not saying that there's a chance he comes back, but he hasn't signed yet. So that's kind of where things stand on Dylan Campbell. If some of these guys haven't finalized contracts already, he expects Lucas Gordon, Garrett Gilmette, and Travis Stelly to all sign and be gone.
Certainly, I expect Lucas Gordon and probably Travis Staley to do it. So he's thinking Gilmette will also sign. Yeah,
he figured Garrett was when they recruited Garrett from USC in the portal, they figured he was going to be a 1-year guy, regardless of what the money is. It's just the position he was taken out in the draft. It just makes a lot of sense. It's kind of what he wanted. So he's expecting him to be gone. There's always a situation, Craig. We've seen this with those later round draft picks where, even if the money might not work out, and you can offer them up to that. What is that? I think $10,000 or whatever it is, $100,000. I forget what the number is, but it could be far below that, and you might not sign. But that was apparently the plan with Gilmette, was just he was going to be here for a year and then he was going to be gone. So you've got a really good collection of guys coming back. You've got a really good group of signees coming in. And one thing he told me that was really interesting too was he said Porter Brown is kind of in the same spot Eric Kennedy was in last year. Kind of assumed he would be here for a year, thought he was going to get drafted, wasn't. But now you've got a guy that probably is going to come back with a chip on his shoulder, highly motivated.
Quarterback your outfield.
Yeah, to get into pro ball next year. And that's so huge because you were looking at, assuming DC goes ahead and signs, you were looking at having to replace your whole outfield.
Right.
And now that at least you've got Porter back, You've got some like Max Ballew's a guy that could be a corner outfielder.
Yep.
I like the addition of Luke Storm, the Duke transfer, who could give you some time. He could DH. Maybe give you some time at first base.
And you always got Boogie.
But if you want to, just to kind of maximize your lineup, if you want to put Storm at first base and move Jared Thomas to a corner outfield spot, that's an option.
Yeah.
Because Jared Thomas did come in as kind of a two-way guy, the ability to play infield or outfield. So you could do that. That's an option. So you've given yourself a lot of flexibility with the guys you've taken out of the portal, the incoming guys, and the guys you've got returning. He's really excited about what they're doing, and really does feel like they're going in the right direction. We did get into the discussion about NIL because we talked about NIL with baseball. Could they use more NIL help? Yeah, he said they could, but he likes some of the things, especially with some of the things that are happening with Texas One Fund. He feels like there are steps being taken to get that thing going in the right direction because he knows as well as everybody else affiliated with the baseball program knows. When you start competing in conference with those other schools in the SEC, your NIL game better be on point for baseball. And I think everybody knows that, but he feels like the appropriate progress is being made. So it's, didn't like the way the season ended, but, he likes the staff makeup, likes his roster, and it's safe to say David Pierce is feeling really good about how things look right now.
So I give you another three-letter thing that we're all familiar with college baseball, and those three letters, RPI. And the reason why I bring that up, I saw it on social media yesterday. You may have seen it as well, Jeff. Someone had posted the highest RPI average of the last 5 years. The highest RPI average of the last 5 years. And out of that highest RPI average of the last 5 years, Vanderbilt was number one with the highest RPI. Texas was number 5.
Interesting.
Highest average RPI the last 5 years out of that. That came to mind and thinking about some of that. All right.
Hey, real quick. We still don't know anything about what preseason event Texas will be in, right? I would assume it would be the tournament at Minute Maid, but I hadn't heard anything finalized on that deal.
No, but
yet.
I think that's correct.
So you think it'll be the Minute Maid?
I think
deal?
it'll be a Minute Maid.
Okay.
Yep. We'll be back to wrap up today's edition of Light the Tower on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260, live, local, and digital on the Horn app and at hornfm.com.
Football season is upon us. If your home entertainment setup is not the way you want it for the gridiron action when it gets here, just upgrade right now. Just give Tom McKay a call. Give Audio Visual Consultations a call. Let them take care of all your worries on the home audio video front. 512-255-8678. 255-8678 is the number you need to call for AV consultations. That's the call I made a few years ago, and I love watching Red Zone on a Sunday on my 75-inch LG TV, hearing it crystal clear, thumping the walls with that Sonos sound system. AV Consultations has the latest smart TVs and Sonos audio in stock, and if they don't have it, Tom McKay is one phone call away from getting it for you because he's connected with so many dealers across the country. What I love about AV Consultations, they'll put together a project that not only does it make sense for the budget you've got in mind, it'll make sense for the amount of space you have in your house. So if you can fit that same setup like I've got, they'll do the nice, clean, professional setup that they're known to do. Maybe you need something smaller. You don't have as much space. Maybe you need something in your man cave. Maybe you want a gaming setup in a room off to the side. No problem. They can do that too. Or if you've got enough space to blow it out and do a full tilt home theater experience, get you a 150-inch screen. Tom McKay and AV Consultations would love nothing more than to make that dream become a reality. But don't waste any more time. Just call right now, 512-255-8678. That's 255-8678. Let Tom McKay and Audio Visual Consultations help you realize the home entertainment setup of your dreams.
Wrapped up for today. Here's our man Belton Gringo says Texas is playing in the Astros Foundation Classic March 1st through the 3rd with LSU, Houston, Vanderbilt, Texas State, and Louisiana Lafayette. Yep, that's what I'd heard.
The only reason I said that is because last I'd heard it hadn't been finalized on the Texas end in terms of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So I assume, I know David Pierce wants to alternate between Globe Life and Minute Maid.
Yeah, that is true. And then it was under Minute Maid Park News there. Somebody else had, and then for Trucker Tom, who says, why no Leander Lions in the top 50? What? No surprise there. Well, Leander's a 5A school, not a 6A school. So they wouldn't be in the 6A rankings. But if it's any hint to you as we do 5A Division I tomorrow, they're picked 8th in 11 5A D1, so they're probably not going to be ranked in the top 10 in 5A Division I. But that's all right. Chris Price trying to flip that thing up there on Baghdad Road. All right, stay tuned.
Bucky Godbolt's coming in, getting ready to kick me out of my chair.
He and Zay will roll it along. For a man behind the glass, our producer, Cam Parker. From a co-host, Jeff Howe. You're out tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Jeff is out tomorrow.
Scheduled day off.
Also tomorrow, Gene Watson, our MLB insider, will be on with us for part of the program tomorrow. Until then, I'm Craig Way. Thanks for joining us. We'll visit with you tomorrow right here on Light the Tower.